Yo, what is going on YouTube? Marcel Kiefer here and welcome back to another video. Today we are gonna have a look at how you're gonna maximize your race starts on the F1 2021 game. And we are gonna do this on GP mode, and we are probably gonna get smacked by the AI depending on what kind of OP starts that they get. But we're gonna have a look at all three types of starts, maybe also the difference between compounds. But we're gonna look at softs, mediums, hards. Usually you don't start on hards, but we will still cover it off. And then we're also gonna have a look at intermediate starts and full wet starts. So let's get into it. First of all, I think we're gonna pick Monza because it might have the longest straight at the start, if I'm not mistaken. No, we're gonna use Monza just because I think it is the longest straight. So we're gonna put it to equal performance to make it a bit more realistic. Then I'm gonna put it to one-shot quali, and we're gonna put it to a 50% race because that's what most of you are doing. We're gonna put it to short quali because of full whatever. I'm anyways gonna retire from it. So check if I have, because I recorded after the traction control tutorial. Strict rules on, park firmly off, no safety car please. Formation lap, we'll cover that off in another video. So car damage, we'll put it just to standard quickly, it doesn't really matter. Race up manual, of course. Collisions, pit lane, equal, blah blah blah. Wait, you can switch it also here, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And 110 AI, of course. I think I didn't change the weather. Oh, please let it be dry. Please let it be dry. It's dry, at least for now. And the race is also dry. Okay, so we are actually gonna also use the default set. We're gonna retire right away. To start at the back.
And with qualifying complete,
thank you, Crofty. Today. So first of all, against AI, you will probably suffer, but this is the main thing against competition. If you do AI, it's still gonna be useful because you still want to maximize the starts, right? But AI can be really strong. So we're gonna do the first start probably on soft just to make it a bit easier. The first thing I recommend is putting the diff to 100, gives you more grip right away. I will also put that to 50 in case we drive a bit further. Of course, your wing settings and stuff matter as well, but not as much. So what you're trying to aim for is around 3 green bars or 2.5, 4, something in between there. There's a little range. Codemaster usually gives you an optimal window. Let's have a quick look at the window. Reach optimal RPM. We already had a 2s. So you can technically go for 2, but then you have to be a bit more aggressive on the throttle. So something between 2 and 3, you don't want to have too high of an RPM because then you will spin out, but let's say 2.5, fill it up. And then you're going for it. So of course this is not a tutorial yet, this is just a little test start. Oh, we make up a couple of positions. So yeah, you go for around 2 to 3 bars, green bars, depending on what you like, but you have to build up the RPM. You cannot just go to 2 bars and expect it to build up the RPM. I will show you that. We go to 2 bars. Look, the RPM is too low. It doesn't build up. And then you will literally just stall. That's what's gonna happen. But what you can do is, you can technically to build up the RPM quickly, do this, then go to 2. I would actually recommend 2.5 bars, not 2. It's a bit too low. Too risky that you might drop, especially underperforming. And then, again, what we've learned in the traction control video, you're slowly building up that start. And it's fairly tricky because getting a feel for that, especially the tracks have different kind of grip, at least it feels like it. And you need to be careful because the tires also have different grips. Sometimes you start medium, sometimes on soft. We're gonna have a look at the mediums as well. What I always recommend to do, always go quickly into second gear. Not immediately usually, because that will probably slow you down, but fairly early. And I will show you that now. Where you go into second gear. Quite quick. It was actually a bit too quick, but we still got a good start. And then you spam your overtake button. You want to use overtake at the start because otherwise you're probably going to lose our positions. We have a bit more wings than the AI, it seems. And with that, you can make great overtakes in the first lap. Like for example, this is against 110 AI. With your default set, we are already up 8 places. We can probably do some more if we brake late here. No lockup, slide one on the front left. Stuff like that, okay? So for the softs, try and go for 3.5. That's more or less, it doesn't really change for any of the tire compounds. 3.5, 2.5 to 3, something in between there. To get the RPM to build up. You can also go full throttle, so it's completely built up, and then lower it down again. It's just about building it up initially, so you have that optimal rev range, and then it's about your throttle input. The throttle inputs need to be slow and progressive, and they will go quicker and quicker, so it's quite slow. Then you notice the downforce is going to build up. You won't really feel it, but there will be a point where you are like, okay, there's grip, so you can floor it. Will take around maybe a second, let's see. One, two. So even after 3 seconds, there can still be a bit of wheel spin. So you have to be gentle. Just get a slow feel for it, but you need to be gentle on the throttle. Let's have a look at the mediums after this one. And like I said, second gear. Oh wow, auto start from must have been bad reaction from me. But you could see the throttle is slowly progressing. I'm never really too aggressive, and then you use your overtake until some stage of the straight. Because you need to. Let's have a look at the mediums, because the mediums are even a bit more tricky than the softs. The harder the compound, the less grip you will have. Same procedure at the beginning, 3 bars on the throttle. Release the clutch. Build it up even slower than on the softs, and you can still see we get a bit of wheel spin, and you will always have less grip. You cannot match soft starts, it's impossible. But you can try and minimize the damage and get the maximum out of your tire compound. That is what you're aiming to do. Nothing else. It's not like you're gonna beat them, but you can fight them. And if some soft runner messes it up, you can actually be quicker. So again, 3 bars, then short shift into second, as soon as you can. Get a feel for when it's perfect, and slowly progress the throttle. Then as soon as you feel like there's enough grip, like that's another thing also for the soft starts, you just want to use overtake as soon as you notice there's enough grip, because if you use overtake right away, I will show you that, you will get wheel spin. Watch out. I have way more wheel spin than before. So you don't want to use overtake right away. Kind of slowly build into it. And if you do, then you have to be really gentle. But I don't think it's worth it. I really don't think it's worth it, because it's definitely not using any overtake anyways. So you're gonna use none until the point where you feel like you have enough grip built up so you can go for it. Let's have a look at the hards. The hards will probably be awful. It will be even slower on the throttle. Like, the main thing is you have to be even smoother. I can still feel the wheel spinning a tiny bit. So it takes quite some time. It looks all fairly similar, but there is a huge difference. Look at that gap now to the front runners. And we probably break our wing, yeah. Deservingly after dive like that. But yeah. You can see, we will do another one. It's just being even more gentle, holding the throttle at the lower RPMs a tiny bit longer than usual. Look, we still get a bit of wheel spin, but this was actually a great start for the hard compound. Yeah, I probably messed it up a tiny bit. And with that, you can go in your career mode and your league races really confident to fight the AI or your best friends or rivals on track. So main thing for the softs that I would say is 3 bars, 2.5 to 3 bars. Then slowly build up the throttle. Use second gear as a little short shift to minimize the wheel spin, and then build it up. Just build it up gradually. Don't overdo. Like, you lose more time and add actually tire wear by being a bit too greedy. You of course want to be on the limit and get a perfect start, but you never want to overdo it. So be gentle, be patient with everything in life, and especially on the F1 game to learn it. You will get there. Just try it out. Let's have a look at the inters and the wets. We'll also have a look at the interstart in the wets, because that's something that some people did. Also I in Belgium. So we will do Monza again. Where is it? Monza here. But usually you don't need the hards. Honestly, I think for 100% races maybe, but I think the only track where I could see at 50% is Mexico, I think, where you can actually use the hards from soft to hards. But aside from that, you barely use it anywhere. Maybe also Hungary. Aside from that, you will never use it. Probably. So let's have a look at inters first. So it's the same as before. Alright, so quickly retire. I will also use the default setup again, even though it's inter and also wets, where you usually want higher wings or a bit more grip. I will also make a video on how to improve your wet setups, race strategy. Guys, there's so much content to come. So yeah, don't worry about it. So also for the wet start, I recommend 100 diff. That's at least what I have been using most of the time. Some people say that's crazy. I say that's fine. So here we go. I don't know if we can also do a wets on interstart. But we will do an inter on interstart first. So in inter conditions, what you have to do. You have to still go for the same rev range, because the engine works the same in the wets as in the dry. It's just in the wet you get more wheel spin, so you will definitely don't just shift into second gear, but shift up a bit earlier the gears than usual. Not really quick. Second gear is still the same like in the dry, maybe even a bit quicker, but the other gears will be a tiny bit quicker than before, but not as quick as like second gear. Second gear is the most important, then afterwards it gets a bit longer, but you still shift earlier. And you have to be probably as progressive, if not more progressive, than the hard compounds. Let's have a look. So we go for 3 bars. Second gear, third, fourth, fifth. So you can see we are short shifting quite a bit. Oh, Danny Ricciardo doing a Danny Ricciardo. We can also, of course, use a bit lower diff here if we want to. I will make another start now with lower diff just to check it. Let's try 70 or let's try 80. It's not the biggest step. I feel like I'm struggling actually more, so I will still say 100 is better. For the start, it's just like easier. Even though in the wet it should work with lower diff, it just works best on this game with higher diff, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but that's my tip that I'm giving you. You can take it or leave it. But then again, short shift. That's the main thing. You can see we're short shifting way more. And I'm still a bit too aggressive on the throttle at the end. You don't want any wheel spin or broken wings, because I'm an idiot. But yeah, be gentle. Same thing as with the dries. Be gentle. Wheel spin always costs you more time. Second, third, fourth, fifth. Bit of wheel spin. But that was actually a decent starter. We're kind of keeping up with the AI, which is good. With that we can actually make up a lot of places. And that's how you start in the inters. So just be more progressive on the throttle, similar but a bit more cautious, and use the gears for your advantage. Still use ERS as soon as you feel like there's grip, because you need it, otherwise you're gonna lose out positions. You might not be able to overtake some or defend or something like that. But use your gears for your advantage, because in the end you will need it. And I forgot to start with wets on inters. I will do that in a second. It will definitely have less grip, but if you might have to do it for a different strategy that you want to run, let's see how bad it is. Oh yeah. It's really bad. Like, this is probably the trickiest. You can probably use it as quite a lot of practice. Look how slow we are. Like, we get a lot of wheel spins, so you do the same procedure, but you have to be way more cautious on the throttle. We will do it one more go, so you can look at the throttle bar. Look at the throttle bar, the green bar. We still get a little bit of wheel spin. Now we can, of course. I think in the wets, like, kind of the thing what you have to do, especially also on the inters, as soon as you're full throttle, you can go with the ERS, because that's where you definitely have grip. But yeah, so starts in the inters, in the inter conditions with wets are gonna be really challenging. So look out for that. But what you want to do in inters basically is the same thing as in the dry. Just short shift a bit more and be a tiny bit more cautious on the throttle, but also activate your ERS as soon as you can. So let's have a look at the wet start and also inters and wets. Alright, here we go. So, heavy wet conditions, a lot of rain, where the wets are definitely gonna be more useful. And I also in this case recommend again 100 diff, personal preference. Can't disagree. Use whatever you want in the end. I think it's better. It could be wrong. It's just my own kind of experience that I made in the game. And I'm not 100% correct like anyone with what I'm saying about the game, of course. I'm probably more like, I have more infos and more knowledge than most of you. So I'm just sharing what I know and what works for me, what I figured out over the last months of esports. But of course, there's a lot of things to still figure out. So first of all, let's start on the wets in wet conditions. So it's same procedure again. Go for 3 bars, or 2.5 can also do. That can actually help in the wets, also in the inters, going a bit lower. Second gear, third. You have to be really careful with the last bit of the throttle. Like in heavy wets, the main thing is, it's a similar procedure to the inters. Nearly exactly identical. It's just different grip. And you have to be a bit more careful, but it's kind of the same. You're just trying to be a bit more careful with the last bit of throttle. Like now I have it built up and I don't get any wheel spin. If you do it a tiny bit too early, you will definitely still get a wheel spin and lose a lot of lap time. Can be up to half 10 from the long straight. So you don't want to do that. Of course, this doesn't apply to every single track, because there's not going to be a long straight like in Monza, but especially in Monza it will hurt you a lot. So we do the same thing. We go to 2.5 to 3 bars, and short shift into second. Quick shift into third, fourth, fifth. And now we have full throttle, so we also use all of our overtake, just yeet it. Send it down the inside of all of them. And we are going to be up into what position? 9th place. That is an incredible start. So that's what you want to do. 3 bars, slow on the power. Be careful. It's similar to the inters, just a bit more careful. You short shift into the gears. And then as soon as you have built up that, well, let's say, full throttle, you will use your ERS. And then you get a great start where you make up a lot of positions. And that's all there is to it. So, let's have a quick look also at inters and wets, and then we are gonna summarize what we've learned today from this video. The main key points. So yeah. There's more wheel spin, and you have to be a tiny bit more careful, but it's the same. Just be slower on the throttle. It's similar to wets and inter conditions, actually a bit easier. But yeah, you will get a feel for that. One more time so you can look at the throttle bar. 3 bars. Start with building up the RPM. Let the clutch go. Second gear. Third. We have this time a little bit more wheel spin because I'm not cautious enough and careful enough on the throttle. That's it. As soon as you have full on grip, like the max grip you can get, you're of course gonna use ERS. So yeah, not that hard, right? It's more or less the same, just a bit more careful. So what we've learned today, we are going to be using, of course, 3 bars of throttle, 2.5 to 3 bars to build up the RPM. Hold it there, release the clutch, second gear in all conditions. We've then slowly building up the throttle, and depending on tire compound, track state, and weather conditions, we are gonna slowly increase the throttle until we have maximum grip, and that's where we're gonna use our overtake in all conditions, because we need it to defend or attack and make up as much places as we can into turn 1 and at the start to position ourselves for a great race, and also optimize our strategy with that, because track position, as we've learned from the esports races, matters more than you think. So yeah, second thing, the tire compounds matter. Soft has more grip than medium on the start. Medium has more grip than hards on the start. The hards are to avoid at the start because they are really bad and you will lose a lot of position, so also think about track position again. If you can, always start on softs, or if you can maximize start as much as you can on mediums, because the mediums are usually the better race compound on, let's say, 80% of the tracks on the game. So it's quite useful. And with wets, you kind of don't want to start an interest, but if you have to, be careful. There will be lots of wheel spins, so be really gentle. Use the gears to shift up like quicker and minimize the wheel spin. That's the thing about the wet conditions and heavy wet conditions. You don't just short shift into second, but you also shift a little bit earlier than compared to the dry into third, fourth, and fifth, and then you're probably already full throttle. Maybe sixth gear as well. But that's the latest point where you probably will be full throttle, and then you're gonna use your ERS to upshift, to shift into the next gears and accelerate as much as you can until the end of the straight. And same thing with inters in wets. You just have to be a bit more gentle. It's not gonna be a huge disadvantage, but it will definitely make a difference. It's probably comparable to soft compared to hard. So it's quite a bit, but it's not as bad as probably wets and inter conditions. I think that sums it up quite well, and I hope this video was useful. If your starts improved, let me know in the comments, and if you struggle with something, also let me know. Be mindful. Everything takes time, guys. Every single thing that I teach you is not gonna be a thing where you're just gonna snap right away. Some of you might, and you might be one of the lucky ones and natural ones that get it right away, but usually I can tell you 90% of the people watching, or 95 or 99% of the people watching, they will take days, weeks, or months to fully learn that. But you have the knowledge, you know what to do, and that's the main thing. Knowledge is wealth. Literally. With knowledge, you can do anything. You need the knowledge first, and then you can try and work out how to apply your knowledge to the actual practice. And that's what I want you to do. You will get frustrated, but you will learn it. And if you master it, you will feel great. So go for that feeling, and I believe in you. I will see you in the next video. Hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button so you don't miss out on any content. And I really appreciate your support. Have a lovely day, everyone. Peace.